Hello again, and thank you so much for coming back. I am back inside as March has turned rainy and cold, as March likes to do in Vermont. And I was actually going to take a couple days off to kind of digest to this point and maybe allow those of you who are watching to digest as well. But as I was moving around this morning doing my things, I realized that there was something more that I want to at least try to say about acceptance. So here goes. Um, I have noticed, and you may well have noticed as well, that there are many um important principles and ideas and understandings that we tend to vastly oversimplify in our culture. Take forgiveness, for instance. We think that forgiveness is something that we can do in a few minutes or in a quick conversation and kind of get it out of the way. And sometimes that can happen. Sometimes that's all it takes. And yet, forgiveness, in my experience, can be something with many, many layers and depth and unpacking of feelings and wounds and things that are important to look at. You can't just sort of get to the full depth of experience, or at least not always, without a real exploration of the depth of it. And since I talked some about acceptance, I wanted to go a little more deeply into that. Acceptance is another one of those terms, understandings, actions, whatever you want to call it, that I think is kind of misunderstood and even misused in our culture. When I'm talking about acceptance, I'm not talking about something that's passive or whitewashing or an abdication. For instance, I don't say, okay, I have accepted what I've done, and so now that means I don't have to deal with it anymore. Um, to me, acceptance is a kind of universal principle that can be applied to everything. I had to, when I finally woke up and realized what I had done, I thankfully, one of the things that I realized right away is that I had to accept responsibility for what I had done. Um, and then there are many, many layers to that. I had to accept the angry things that people said to me and that people still say to me, the loss of um, connection and friendship with people, the loss of so much of what I had considered my former life. And ultimately, I had to learn to accept myself, even in places that were very difficult to do so. And I've come to think of acceptance as not something that we do once or that we kind of learn and we do it and then we dust off our hands and then we're done. I see acceptance as something that it's almost like a heavy stone in deep water. It just goes down and down and down and down. And there are the surface things that we can accept about ourselves, which may be easy or may be difficult. And then there are the hidden things that we can or may have to come to terms with as that stone sinks deeper and deeper down into the murky depths of things that we may not want to look at. What don't we want to look at? I didn't want to look at how much I'd hurt people. I didn't want to look at how stupid I'd been. I didn't want to look at how naive I'd been, how I had been sucked into something that, could easily be said that any semi-sensible person would have known didn't make any sense. Um, and as I said in the last post, the more acceptance that I brought to myself, the more I realized that that acceptance was always a doorway to a deeper experience of what was happening in any given moment, and to a deeper experience of myself. And again, this is not a one-off thing. This can be a life's work. Uh, how much of yourself can you accept? When we look at people and even listen to people in simple conversation, you can see that there's so much of a lack of acceptance of ourselves. Oh, I can't stand my frizzy hair, or I can't stand I'm got too big a belly now, or I can't accept that my child wants to be a musician instead of um, a business person. That um, and that everything, internally or externally, that we bring acceptance to in our life is a doorway to profound transformation. This is not a small thing, it's a fundamental thing in my experience. Thanks again for coming. That's all for now.